Hey guys, it's Ian Streetz again. Thanks a lot for anyone that's watched the last couple of videos, and thanks a lot for your feedback. As I mentioned in the last video, we are going to be starting on defenses today, and we're going to be starting on the slip. Not that kind of slip. The slip is a defensive move in boxing that we use to get out of the way of straight punches coming towards us. So what we do is we want to get our head out of the way of the line of attack so that that shot does not hit us. There's a few ways we can do this. So if you're sitting at your computer and you're right-handed, your right hand would be over here. If you threw your left hand at me, you'll notice if I take my head out of the line this way, I'm moving away from your other hand. But if they're moving in towards the shot, they are moving towards the other hand. And if they're inexperienced and they don't have the skills yet to know how to get out of that position, it's not necessarily a position you want to encourage them into going into. So you often start off, let's say you feed a 1-2, you feed them the jab, they're going to move their head out the way and they're going to counter back with their right hand. Or let's say they threw a 1-2 and hook, they're going to move out the way this way, because this time the person's other hand is going to be over this side and they can counter back with their hook. So already that's a little combination you can start getting people to do. 1-2, move out the way of the jab, counter back with their cross. Or 1-2, hook, move out the way of your right hand and come back with the hook. A ridiculous story that I tell people when I work with them, because I haven't thought of a better one, is I say the punching hand you want to imagine is like the front door. Their other hand is like a guard dog, okay? So when they're starting to slip, they want to stay outside the door, because if they slip inside the door, there's a chance that the guard dog is going to bite them. What that means is when that left hand comes, they practice going this way. When the right hand comes, they practice going this way. Now, I can't stress enough that that's not the only way to slip. You can slip the other way, and that'll be the next video. It's a little bit more, it takes a little bit more understanding of what might come back because you are moving towards their other hand. So we're going to cover them in separate videos. For now, we're just working on that base level. 1-2, move out the way this way, or move out the way this way. Now, when they're doing their slips, it's important that they're not just tick-tocking their head out the way. You do want to move your head just enough. Boxing's all about a matter of inches, centimeters, millimeters. So you want to move just enough that the shot misses your head so that you can counter back quickly. If I move my head all the way out here for a start, from a defensive point of view, that's far too much. My counter shot is much more likely to be telegraphed, and they're going to see what's coming and they'll get out the way before I get a chance to do it. Throw on the shot, make sure it's on target, make sure they're getting just out the way, make sure they counter back quick, and they get themselves back to a balanced position. Now, on that, let's talk about what can come back from your slip position. Now, we said if they're throwing their left hand, we're going to start off moving this way. I could counter back with my straight right, get my hand back to my face. Or I could slip, I could counter back with my hook, come back to my guard. I could slip, come back with my uppercut, slip, come with a body shot. Essentially, if I'm slipping this way, it's going to feel a lot more natural. I'm loaded up to throw something with my backhand, my right hand. If I'm getting out of the way of their right hand, I'm moving out of the way, it's going to feel a lot more comfortable coming back with a left hook. Slipping, coming back with an uppercut. What might feel a little bit awkward is slipping this way and coming back with a normal jab. Just because your hips and shoulders are rotated, the jab, it's a little bit more comfortable to go into what, as I said, there's different names for it, but what I call a 45-degree jab, which you often see with someone like Tyson, who is making up for a reach disadvantage. What he'd do, make the shots miss, punch up. That way he's getting maximum leverage, maximum power. And it's a jab that's thrown at a 45-degree angle, turns the person's head at a funny angle, and it's a really effective shot. So you can slip and punch up with that shot. If you are starting to introduce slips into your combinations and you're unsure which punch should follow up from it, just remember, as we said before, whichever hand you're throwing out, if you're throwing your left, that means they're moving to their right. They're most likely going to come back with a right hand shot. So they'll slip, you can catch a right hand. They'll slip, you'll catch a right hook. They'll slip, you'll catch an uppercut, or slip and they'll go to the body. Or if I'm throwing my right hand, I'm going to throw that right hand out, catch their left hook, catch their uppercut, catch their 45-degree jab, or catch their body shot. I'm throwing single shots initially because they're going to practice that dynamics of getting just out the way, throw their shot, coming back to balance. Getting out the way, throwing the shot, coming back to balance. If you want to make it a little bit more like a drill, if you make them throw 2 shot counters, it's a good way of getting them going from left to right. Now, what do I mean by that? If I get them to throw, let's say, a 2 shot entry, 1, 2, I want them to slip out the way. If they now come back with 2 shots, right hand, left hook, the next time they slip, they're going to be slipping to their left, so they can drill slipping the other way. They can come back with a hook and a cross. If I keep them on an odd number shot, singles for example, 1, 2, they're going to slip and throw a single, slip, they're going to throw a hook, slip, and they're going to throw an uppercut, okay? You might use that if you want to drill the person getting their hand back to their face. Let's say they're throwing their 2s and their hands are coming back and they're a little bit messy. You would get them having to move quick so that they're learning how to bring their hand back, how to use their hips into the punch. You can make that a 3 shot. So you might go 1, 2, slip, right hand, left hook, right hand, slip, right hook, left hook, right hook, slip, right uppercut, left hook, right hook, or whatever. If you're using an odd number shot, they're going to be staying on the same hand, and it's a good way of practicing that rip. If they're using even number shots, like 2, you're going to go from one side to the other side. It's a good way to practice them working on both sides, and it's also a good way of getting them staying balanced when they're moving from side to side. So those are a few ways you can start implementing the slip into your pad work. Today was just covering slipping away from the opposite shot. We will be covering in the next video slipping in towards the other hand and how that changes things. The video after that will be slipping and punching, because it's great to make someone miss. It's even better if you can hit them while they're missing. One thing I forgot to mention in the last video that I did mean to mention, so I'll just cover it now briefly. When you're holding pads for people, what you do with your hands when they're not punching is an important thing as well, okay? So, for example, you might have verbal cues where you might say jab, double jab, cross, or whatever. Or you might have non-verbal cues if you're trying to get them working on their reflexes. So you might have your hands flashing and they're going to know that when they see the target, they have to throw the shots, okay? So if you're always walking around with the target half exposed, that person might just be throwing punches. It might end up twisting your hands back. So just from a safety perspective and making sure you're getting the best out of your person, just be mindful of what you're doing with your hands when they're not throwing punches. So you might have them, the targets facing you when you move around, so that way you can still simulate boxing, getting them working without the target showing, or have them up against your chest, and that way you're only going to release the target when it's time for them to hit. That way they're going to know exactly when you want them to punch and when not to punch. So thanks again for watching. Let me know how you get on with the slips. If there's anything you do want to see, anything that I haven't covered, let me know and I'll make sure it goes in the next video. Thanks a lot, guys.